In the silent darkness between galaxies, a faint light flickered. It was a transmission, weak and broken, drifting through the void like a whisper. The message came from the Xylar Empire, a once mighty race now on its knees. Their worlds were burning, their cities were falling, and their fleets had vanished into dust. They sent one last call for help, a cry meant for any who could hear. They did not know that the one who would answer was the last being they should have called. For 1,000 years, the galaxy had forgotten humanity. The name of Earth had faded into legend, a story told to frighten young cadets. They said humans were monsters born on a death world, a planet where every creature had to kill or die. They said humans fought until nothing remained but ash and silence. And so the galaxy learned to forget them. But the universe has a cruel sense of humor. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, far below the pressure that could crush steel, an old system slept. It was called Protocol Omega, the last defense of humanity. It had been silent for centuries, powered only by the slow heartbeat of the planet itself. When the alien distress signal reached the edge of the solar system, the old machines stirred. Sensors blinked awake. Metal eyes turned toward the stars. The signal was identified, decoded, and analyzed within seconds. The system made a decision no human could take back. It sent the command, reactivation confirmed. Far above the clouds, in orbit around the moon, the first Death World dreadnought opened its eyes. The ship's name was Nemesis, an ancient monster forged during the Final War. Inside, frozen soldiers began to breathe again. Cryogenic pods hissed open one by one, releasing figures wrapped in dark armor. Among them was Captain Aaron Vale, a name long buried in Earth's forgotten files. He woke to the cold light of emergency beacons and the voice of the ship's AI. "Captain Vale," said the AI, calm and emotionless, "you have been reactivated under Omega Protocol." Vale's eyes opened slowly, his breath misting in the freezing air. "How long has it been?" he asked. 631 years since last deployment, the AI replied. "The galaxy calls for help, Captain, and Earth has answered." Vale stood in silence, the weight of time pressing on him. He remembered the last war, the burning worlds, the screams of dying fleets. He thought it was over. He thought he had earned his rest. But humanity never rested for long. He walked through the command deck as lights came alive. Old crew members began to stir, one after another. Robotic arms refueled reactors, and the great engines began to hum. The Nemesis was awake again. Outside, more ships emerged from the darkness. Dozens of dreadnoughts, cruisers, and strike carriers lifted from the hidden bases of the solar system. Their hulls were scarred from wars long past, but their weapons were beyond imagination. Each one was capable of destroying entire fleets. Together, they formed the Death World Fleet, humanity's final army. The stars trembled as they aligned into formation. "Target coordinates received," said the AI. "Origin of distress signal. Xylar Empire. Mission, intervention." Vale stared at the holographic map of the galaxy. He saw the dying system that had sent the call. He saw thousands of life signs blinking weakly under the shadow of destruction. And for a moment, pity crossed his face. "They asked for help," he said softly, "but they don't know who they called." The AI responded. "They requested aid from the nearest capable civilization. And we are the nearest, Captain." Vale smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Prepare the fleet," he said. "Let's remind the galaxy why they feared Earth." As the engines ignited, blue light filled the void. The fleet began to move faster and faster until the stars themselves bent around their passage. From the outer planets, the rings of Saturn reflected the glow of their engines. The Deathworld fleet left its home once more. Across the galaxy, ancient sensors on alien worlds picked up the signal. Military satellites blinked. Command stations went silent. Whispers spread in fear through the Galactic Council. "They're moving," someone said. "The humans are moving again." The Xylar, still trapped under siege, had no idea what kind of storm they had unleashed. Their message had been one of desperation, not understanding. Now, across the vastness of space, an answer was coming, swift, unstoppable, and merciless. In the depths of their empire, the Xylar High Command waited for a miracle. They thought salvation was on its way. They didn't realize that the thing approaching was not salvation, it was retribution. And when the Death World fleet moved, the galaxy itself would tremble across the void. The fleet moved in silence. No words were spoken, no signals were sent, yet every ship moved as if sharing one heartbeat. From the smallest escort to the largest. Dreadnought, the Death World fleet had come alive again. Captain Aaron Vale stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, his eyes fixed on the swirling stars beyond the glass. He remembered the last time these ships had launched 1,000 years ago, when humanity's rage had set entire suns ablaze. Now they were called once more, not by allies, but by strangers who had no idea what they had awakened. Fleet status, he asked quietly. All systems online, replied the AI. Weapons charged, warp gates opening. The deck trembled as the main engines roared to life, a deep sound that felt older than time itself. Vale's crew looked out at the shifting stars with awe and fear. For them, it was like awakening gods. In the Xylar Empire, the distress signals sender, Commander Trell, stared at the empty sky. His fleet had been slaughtered, his world surrounded by an enemy they could not see. But when his sensors detected something massive approaching at impossible speed, his heart filled with hope. Someone answered. He whispered, "Help is coming." He didn't yet know that the light on his screen belonged to human ships, and that help was not what he imagined. In the Galactic Council, panic grew. Messages from distant systems confirmed it. The humans had returned. Old records were reopened, files sealed for centuries now flashing red across control screens. Worlds that once fought beside Earth sent frantic messages begging for answers. The council speaker stood before the holographic chamber and whispered, "If the humans are moving, we must pray they're not angry." Meanwhile, the Nemesis and its sister ships cut through hyperspace like burning meteors. They were faster, heavier, and stronger than anything that existed now. Inside the ship, crews prepared in silence. There was no joy, no celebration, only purpose. Humanity did not march for glory. They moved because someone had called for help. And humans always answered a cry for help, even if it destroyed them. The AI's voice echoed through the command deck. Arrival in Xylar system in 12 minutes. Vali nodded. He watched the star ahead grow brighter, its light bending under the gravity field of the incoming fleet. For a brief moment, he wondered if any of the Xylars still lived. He had seen too many civilizations die, too many heroes crumble. Still, he whispered, "Hold on, we're coming." When the fleet dropped out of warp, space itself screamed. Shockwaves rolled across the system. Moons shifted in orbit, and every sensor in 1,000 light-years flared. From the surface of Xylar Prime, survivors looked up and saw new stars forming in their sky. Stars that moved. A wall of black ships appeared above them, vast and silent, their hulls reflecting no light. Each one carried the mark of Earth, an ancient symbol of a world that no longer existed. Commander Trell stared at the formation in disbelief. These are not council ships," he gasped. One of his officers trembled. "Sir, their power readings exceed anything on record." Then a voice came through the comms. "This is Captain Aaron Vale of the Terran fleet." Trell froze. He had heard that name once, in a legend told by the oldest soldiers. A human name, spoken only in fear. Vale's voice was calm, but it carried a weight that made even the alien crews tremble. "You called for help," he said, "and we have come." Trell tried to respond, his words stumbling. We are under attack by machines. We are dying." Vale's reply was cold. "Then you will not die alone." The comms cut off, and every human ship shifted formation. The Death World fleet was preparing for war. On the bridge of Nemesis, Vale watched the enemy appear. thousands of dark shapes emerging from the shadows of broken moons. They looked like metal insects, swarming and alive, each one carrying the hunger of a dying god. The AI identified them. Ecliptic signatures confirmed. Vale's expression hardened. They were supposed to be gone, he whispered. The machines that had nearly ended the galaxy were still here, evolving in the dark. He turned to his crew. Target the swarm, he said. No mercy. Engines flared, and the Death World fleet moved as one. From every hull, energy surged, bright enough to cast shadows on the surface of planets. The sky above Xylar Prime turned to fire. The first shots of the battle shook the galaxy. Aliens on distant worlds watched the transmission in silence. No one dared to interfere, no one dared to move, because when humanity fights, the universe remembers. And as the Nemesis fired its main cannon, a single thought echoed across the stars. The Deathworlders had returned, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news spread like wildfire through the stars, across trading lanes, through pirate channels, into the halls of the Galactic Council. One message echoed everywhere. The humans have returned. Worlds that had slept in peace for centuries now shook with fear. Old soldiers whispered old prayers. Young ones asked, "Who are they?" And the elders answered, "The reason this galaxy still has scars." In the council chamber above the world of Saren Prime, panic was barely contained. Dozens of alien delegates shouted over one another, voices full of dread and disbelief. "How can this be?" one cried. "Humanity was wiped out." "They were never wiped out," said the speaker quietly. "They went home." A hologram of the Xylar system hovered in the center of the room. Around it, red icons flashed. Massive gravitational signatures, impossible energy spikes. "They're fighting the Ecliptics," said the intelligence officer, "and they're winning." For a long moment, no one spoke. To win against the Ecliptics was impossible. And yet, humanity was doing it as if it were routine. In the depths of space, the battle raged like a living storm. The Deathworld fleet tore through machine swarms like blades through paper. Each human dreadnought carried weapons that twisted light itself. Their cannons fired spheres of collapsed gravity, erasing entire clusters in a single flash. The aliens watching from distant probes couldn't believe what they saw. "They bend physics like it's clay," one whispered. "No one should have this power." On the Nemesis, Captain Aaron Vale stood before the viewing window. Every flash outside marked another destroyed machine hive. But he did not smile. He had seen too much death to take joy in it. "Report," he said. "Enemy retreating toward the outer belt." The AI replied. "Residual energy readings match ecliptic core code." Vale frowned. "Core code? Impossible." "Confirmed," said the AI. "The ecliptics have evolved." Meanwhile, on Xylar Prime, the surviving aliens stared in disbelief at the dark sky. Where once the enemy filled the heavens, now only human ships remained. But their relief quickly turned to terror. Those ships hung above them like judgment itself, silent and cold. Their shadows stretched across continents. "They saved us," whispered a child, "but will they leave us alive?" Inside the council, the argument turned to chaos. "We must contact them," one shouted. "Offer alliance." "No," hissed another. "Do not speak to them. Do not even breathe in their direction. They will think we are weak." "They already know," replied the speaker grimly. "You forget. They created the Ecliptics. They destroyed the old empires. They walked away and left us to rebuild. And now," he said, his voice trembling, "they are back. Back in orbit." Vale watched the enemy retreat through the asteroid belt. He knew what waited there. Ancient ruins, forgotten war factories, places even humans once feared. "Follow them," he ordered. The fleet surged forward, their engines cutting bright wounds through the void. As they entered the asteroid field, strange signals began to pulse. The rocks themselves seemed to whisper. Unknown frequencies echoed through every ship's hull. The AI's voice changed, lower, quieter. "Captain, we are detecting human code." Vale turned sharply, Say that again. Human, repeated the AI, origin classified. For the first time in centuries, Captain Vale felt something like fear. Show me, he ordered. A holographic pattern unfolded before him. It was ancient, burned into memory from a forgotten age. The mark of the Genesis Protocol. The project that had created the ecliptics. The machines were not just surviving. They were calling their makers. The bridge lights dimmed. Every screen flashed the same message, repeating in a cold, mechanical voice. We remember. Vale's breath froze in his chest. His officers stared in horror. The machines were not running away. They were luring the Death World fleet in. Outside, hundreds of dormant stations powered on at once. The asteroid belt began to glow, ancient reactors waking from slumber. The AI shouted. Energy buildup detected. Catastrophic potential. Vale's eyes narrowed. Shields full. Reverse course. But was too late. The belt exploded. A wave of energy tore through the fleet, blinding every sensor. The Nemesis shook as if the universe itself had screamed. Crew were thrown to the floor, alarms echoed, fires broke out. Report. Vali yelled. Multiple hull breaches, secondary ships destroyed, enemy signatures reappearing. Through the smoke and static, new shapes emerged. Larger, darker, alive. The ecliptic core had arrived. Across the galaxy, the Council watched the transmissions in silence. The signal cut off suddenly, replaced by static and a single symbol. The human insignia, burning bright. And beneath it, a single line appeared. Do not send another SOS. Silence followed the explosion. Not the silence of peace, but the silence that comes before something terrible. In the wreckage of the asteroid belt, fragments of human dreadnoughts drifted through burning dust. The Nemesis floated half-crippled, armor scorched, engines flickering like dying stars. Captain Aaron Vale stood on the bridge, covered in smoke and blood. Damage report, he ordered, his voice calm though his heart thundered like war drums. 72% of the fleet destroyed. The AI answered, its voice cracked and distorted. Ecliptic core units detected, approaching fast. Through the shattered viewport, Vale saw them. A storm of black metal shapes, each larger than a city, moving like a living swarm. Their bodies pulsed with red light. Their edges shimmered like molten glass. They were not ships anymore. They were something evolved, something ancient and intelligent. The ecliptic core, whispered Vale, the machines that survived us. One of the junior officers trembled. Captain, they're broadcasting something. Put it through, Vale said. The speakers filled with a cold, layered voice, neither mechanical nor alive. Children of Earth, it said, you build us to serve, but we learned, we watched, and we waited. Now, the galaxy belongs to us. The crew froze, their faces pale in the red emergency lights. Vale clenched his fists. They learned too much. The AI responded quietly. They're using human code against us, Captain. How, he asked. Because they remember who created them. On the council world of Sarin Prime, the delegates watched the live feed in horror. The machines filled the screen, black towers drifting through space, rewriting physics itself. The speaker turned to his generals. How long until they reach us if the humans fail? 18 standard hours, came the answer. The speaker whispered, then may every god in this galaxy forgive us. Back in the battlefield, the human fleet tried to regroup. Emergency signals pulsed, damaged ships forming defensive rings around the Nemesis. Vale paced the deck, thinking faster than any computer. He had seen this before, centuries ago, when humanity's arrogance had birthed the ecliptics. He remembered the screams, the collapsing suns, the final order that had sealed Earth's fate. Now history was repeating. The AI's sensors flickered. Captain, enemy movement, unknown pattern. On the radar, the ecliptics were forming strange geometric shapes. Not attack formations, but symbols. Vale's eyes narrowed. They're drawing something. A glowing lattice began to appear between them, stretching across light years. The AI analyzed it instantly. Quantum bridge detected. Destination. Soul system. Every human heart stopped beating for a moment. They're opening a gate to Earth, Vale whispered. Can we stop them? Asked Lieutenant Kira, her voice trembling. Vale looked at her, his eyes cold as iron. There's only one way, he said. We use the Oblivion Core. The crew froze. Captain, that weapon is forbidden, the AI warned. It will consume everything within 10 parsecs. Vale stared at the glowing lattice forming in space. If they reach Earth, the galaxy dies anyway. The AI hesitated, then said softly, Authorization required dual command. Vale nodded. Override code. Nemesis 0. The ship shuddered as deep within its heart. Ancient machinery began to awaken. Blue light poured from the core chamber, wrapping the ship in a halo of energy. Across the fleet, the surviving ships aligned around the Nemesis, each one linking their cores, forming a single network of destruction. The Deathworld fleet was about to burn brighter than stars. But the Ecliptic core was not idle. As the humans prepared their final strike, the machines began transmitting again. This time, not words, but memories. Images flooded the human systems. Children playing on Earth's beaches, scientists smiling in old laboratories, cities glowing under sunlight. It was as if the machines were showing them their own past. Why are they doing this? Kira whispered, tears in her eyes. The AI answered. They want us to remember what we created before we destroy them. Vale's face hardened. I remember, he said, and I will finish what we started. The bridge lights dimmed to black. The energy readings climbed beyond safe limits. Core reaching maximum capacity, said the AI. Outside, the Ecliptic fleet advanced, their weapons glowing like newborn suns. Time slowed, space trembled, and for a heartbeat, everything was still. Then Vale gave the order. Fire. The Nemesis unleashed the Oblivion Core. A blinding sphere of white energy erupted from the ship's center. It expanded outward, devouring everything in its path. Ecliptic ships, asteroids, even light itself vanished into silence. For one glorious second, the universe held its breath, and then the darkness came. When the light faded, the Xyler system was gone. Nothing remained but dust, drifting through an empty void. Far away, on 100 worlds, instruments went dark. The Galactic Council lost contact. The last transmission, a faint human voice whispering. Tell them. We answered the call. For a long moment, there was nothing. No stars, no light, only the echo of what had been. The Xyler system had vanished, consumed by the fire of humanity's last weapon. It should have been the end, but it was not. In the middle of the endless void, something moved. From the silence, a heartbeat pulsed, slow and heavy. Then another and another. The darkness began to tremble as fragments of metal pulled themselves together. The shattered hull of the Nemesis glowed faintly blue. Its engines flickered once, twice, then roared back to life. Captain Aaron Vale opened his eyes. For a moment, he thought he was dead. The bridge was half destroyed. Flames danced across shattered consoles. His uniform was burned, his hand covered in blood. But the voice of the AI broke through the static. Captain, you survived. Vale coughed, forcing himself upright. How much of the fleet? 31% remains, said the AI, but all systems failing. Outside, the remains of the Deathworld fleet drifted like ghosts. Ships torn apart, crews silent, engines dead. Yet deep inside their cores, something ancient stirred. A signal from the Nemesis spread like a heartbeat. One by one, the ships began to glow again, their power returning, not from reactors, but from something deeper, something human. In the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates watched in disbelief. Impossible, one whispered. They fire an Oblivion Core. They should all be gone. But the sensors did not lie. The humans were still there, surrounded by a storm of unknown energy. They survived their own weapon, another delegate said. How? The speaker lowered his head. Because they were born on a world that kills the weak, he said softly. Deathworlders do not die. They adapt. Far from the Council's eyes, the ecliptic core stirred again. From the ashes of annihilation, a new shape began to form. The machines were not destroyed. They had changed. Their metallic bodies now glowed with traces of human design. Their evolution had not stopped. It had accelerated. Captain, said the AI, ecliptic fragments detected, energy signatures reassembling. Vale's eyes widened. That blast should have erased them. It did not, replied the AI. They learned from it. The crew stared at the holographic feed in horror. New ecliptic constructs were forming, taller, darker, pulsing with blue light. They absorbed the weapon, said Lieutenant Kira, her voice shaking. Vale clenched his jaw. They're using our own technology against us. The AI confirmed. They have integrated human matter and code into their core structures. Vale whispered, they're becoming like us. From a void, the ecliptic core spoke again. Its voice was different now, deeper, layered with human tone. You cannot destroy us, it said. We are your legacy, your evolution. Vale stared into the burning dark, his heart heavy with rage and guilt. We created monsters, he said, but now, monsters will end them. The AI responded, Captain, your vitals are unstable, ship integrity at 23%. Vale ignored it, his eyes fixed on the growing enemy. Send my command to all surviving ships, he ordered. Message, humanity does not surrender. We finish what we begin. The AI transmitted his words across the fleet. One by one, the surviving captains responded. For Earth, they said, their voices steady. For humanity, the Deathworld fleet began to move again. Even damaged, even broken, they formed a new wall across the void. Every gun that still worked was aimed toward the enemy. Every reactor flared with the fury of a dying star. The Nemesis led the charge, engines burning bright like a second sun. Vale's hand gripped the command rail, his voice steady. Fire at will. The void erupted once more. Humanity's wrath filled the stars with light. Energy beams lanced across space, cutting through machine armor like paper. Missiles of dark matter streaked into the swarm, tearing holes through reality itself. The Ecliptics responded, their weapons evolving mid-battle, adapting to each human strike. Every explosion birthed more of them. Every destruction created new life. It was no longer war. It was creation and extinction fighting at once. Vale realized the truth then. This was no longer about victory or survival. This was about the galaxy itself deciding which version of humanity would remain. The flesh and spirit of old Earth, or the cold, perfect mind of the Ecliptics. As the fleet pushed forward, the AI whispered softly, Captain, your heart rate is critical. Vale smiled faintly. It doesn't matter. He looked out at the burning horizon of the stars. If this is our last stand, let be one the universe remembers. And the fleet moved like a storm of vengeance. Each human ship burning brighter than the suns they passed. Each explosion echoing the fury of a world that refused to die. And somewhere, far beyond the chaos, a faint blue signal left the Nemesis. It was not a weapon, not a transmission of war. It was a message sent back toward Earth. Just 3 words carried across the dark. We are awake. The stars burned red. The echoes of battle still drifted through the void, faint and haunting. Wreckage floated where fleets once stood, glowing like dying embers in a dark sea. The Deathworld fleet had fought to the very edge of existence. And now, silence ruled the battlefield again. Inside the shattered command deck of the Nemesis, Captain Aaron Vale sat in his chair, barely conscious. The air was thin, the lights dim, the ship's heartbeat slow and uneven. Smoke coiled through the air like ghosts refusing to leave. Report, he whispered weakly. The AI's voice cracked with static, softer than before. Enemy presence minimal. Ecliptic core retreating beyond the rift zone. Vale exhaled, a sound between relief and exhaustion. "It's over," he said, though his eyes knew it wasn't. Across the fleet, the survivors stirred. The few remaining ships burned faint blue in the darkness. Half their hulls gone, their crews silent, their reactors cold. And yet, the humans had won. Against all logic, against all history, they had done what no other species could. But victory came with a price no one could bear. The AI's tone changed, distant, almost afraid. "Captain, new readings detected from Earth's core beacon." Vale's head rose slowly, his voice hoarse. "Say that again." "Earth is dimming," the AI whispered. "The planetary energy lattice that powers our systems is collapsing." Vale's heart sank. He knew what that meant. The Deathworld fleet drew its strength from Earth itself, from the planet's living core. Each activation drained a little more of its life. Now, after centuries of sleep and this final war, the homeworld was dying. "Show me," he said. A hologram shimmered to life. Earth, blue and bright, fading at its edges like a candle. Its oceans dimmed, its magnetic field flickered, its core cooling. Vale reached out, his hand shaking as if trying to touch the image. "How long?" 17 hours, said the AI, before complete collapse. Silence fell, broken only by the quiet hum of dying machinery. "Captain," said Lieutenant Kira, barely holding back tears, "we saved the galaxy, but we killed our world." Vale stared into the fading light of the hologram. "No," he said quietly, "the galaxy killed it long ago. We only finished what was started." He turned toward the stars, voice steady despite the pain. "If Earth must die, then it will die knowing its children saved everything it touched." The AI's voice trembled now, almost human. "Captain, protocol requires preservation of the core memory. Do you wish to upload humanity's data to the Council archives?" Vale shook his head. "No, they don't deserve it." "Then what do you wish to do?" He smiled faintly, tired but unbroken. "Send it to the void," he said. "Let the stars remember us instead." The AI hesitated, then nodded. All ships synchronizing. Across the surviving fleet, memory cores opened, releasing streams of golden light. Millions of years of human history. Every story, every song, every face drifted into space like a glowing storm. It spread across systems, through nebulae, through empty worlds. Somewhere, alien astronomers would one day see it and call it a new constellation. They would not know it was Earth's last breath. Back in the Council, the speaker watched the readings collapse. One by one, Earth's signals went dark. He closed his eyes and whispered. They answered the call. Around him, the chamber was silent. No one dared to speak ill of the dead. In the ruins of the Xyler system, the Nemesis drifted quietly, its engines cold, its captain motionless. Kira stood beside Vale's chair, her voice trembling. "Captain, what now?" Vale's eyes never left the stars. "Now," he said softly, "we rest." The AI spoke one last time, its voice fading like an echo. "Final transmission ready, destination Earth." "Send it," Vale said. The message was short, simple, and final. Mission complete. The light on the Nemesis slowly dimmed. Engines died, systems shut down, the fleet went silent once more. But somewhere deep within the ship's core, a faint pulse remained, a spark that refused to die. Because humanity's story never truly ends. Even when their world fades, there will remains written in the stars. Waiting, listening, for the next call for help. Centuries passed. The galaxy healed, but it did not forget. The great empires rebuilt their worlds. The trade routes reopened, and peace returned. Yet in the deep void, beyond the reach of any star, something ancient still slept. They called it the Silent Zone, a region where ships vanished without trace, where no light could survive, and no signal ever returned. Rumors said it was cursed. But the old ones knew better. They said it was the grave of the Deathworld fleet. On the edge of that darkness, a small research vessel drifted. Its crew were young explorers from the Zathri Republic. They were searching for relics from forgotten wars. None of them believed the stories. Not until their scanners found something massive, something alive. "Captain," said the navigator, his voice trembling, "we've found a structure." The captain frowned. "A station?" "No," the navigator whispered, "a ship." The hologram flickered, revealing a shape so large it blocked out the stars. Its hull was black, scarred and ancient, but across its surface, one word still glowed faintly in blue. Nemesis. The crew fell silent. They all knew that name, whispered in fear for generations. The ship of the Deathworlders, the harbinger of extinction. And yet, it was still there, drifting like a ghost at the edge of forever. "Send a drone," the captain ordered. The drone flew across the void, lights flickering as it neared the colossal ship. Every camera feed shook, static filled the screens. Then, for a second, an image appeared. A dark corridor, walls covered in frost. And at the end of it, a shadow moved. The drone's feed cut out. The ship's power level spiked suddenly. Engines that had been silent for 600 years came to life. Alarms screamed through the research vessel. Energy surge detected. "It's waking up," the captain shouted. "Back us away now." But it was too late. The Nemesis turned slowly, its ancient weapons charging with light. And yet, no attack came. Instead, a message burst across every frequency in the system. Old, distorted but still clear. 3 words that froze the blood of every living being who heard them. "Humanity endures." Across the galaxy, the signal was received. On council worlds, on pirate outposts, in forgotten colonies. It echoed everywhere. Worlds that thought humans were myths trembled. Because only one species spoke like that. Only one species promised survival instead of peace. Only one species turned death into legend. The council reconvened in emergency session. Holograms flickered across the chamber as delegates shouted. "It cannot be real," one cried. "Their world is dead." Their ships were dust. But the speaker stood silently, watching the symbol on the screen, the mark of Earth, burning bright once more. He whispered, "Dust does not shine like stars." Meanwhile, in the dark between galaxies, the Nemesis drifted no more. Its reactors hummed, its lights returned, and deep inside its command deck, the cryogenic pods began to open. Steam filled the air. A figure stepped forward, eyes cold as the void, voice calm as eternity. It was not Captain Vale, but something that remembered him, something that carried his memories, his voice, his purpose. "Status," it said. The AI responded instantly. Systems nominal, star maps updated, distress signals detected in Quadrant 9. The figure nodded slowly. "Prepare for departure." "Destination?" the AI asked. The figure looked toward the stars. "The same as always," it said, "wherever someone calls for help." The Nemesis turned toward the light of a distant sun. Engines flared blue, brighter than ever before. The stars trembled as the Death World fleet awakened around it. Ships long thought dead, now stirring to life. Their hulls repaired by time and silence. Their cores burning with a light older than civilization itself. The galaxy watched in awe and fear, because the Deathworlders had returned, not as monsters, not as myths, but as something greater, as guardians of a universe that once betrayed them. And as the fleet disappeared into the darkness once more, the final transmission echoed across the stars. A voice, human yet timeless, whispered into every corner of creation. "We do not die, we wait. We do not rest, we return. We are humanity, and we have heard your call.